everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Guys, this is going to be a little bit of a mashup between our usual Sunday astro weather. We're going to take a look at the transits for the week, but really we're going to be taking a look at this full moon in Aries that is setting up about in a couple days time. Depending on when you guys are watching this, you're going to be feeling this build all week long. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Do me a favor, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. To all of my subscribers and my members, thank you guys for supporting me. It's nice to see you. Welcome to October. If you guys have not already seen on the channel, we have October horoscopes that are up for all 12 rising signs. I'm going to talk to you guys about the eclipse. I'm going to talk to you guys about all of the things going down. Mercury is going to be stationing, so we're going to finally see the end of this Mercury retrograde. Shadows kind of wearing off mid-month, and October is eclipse time. We're going to be seeing a solar eclipse in Scorpio at the end of the month, bookended by a November 8th lunar eclipse in Taurus. So all month long, the energy is going to build, but I have to tell you guys, my favorite astrology is the first 2 weeks of October. We're going to see so much awesome energy, so many opportunities to communicate and just have things kind of just come together very naturally. And we're going to see the beginning of that taking place this week. So this is going to be the astro weather that is going to be for October 2nd all the way through October 9th, with the grand finale being a full moon in Aries on the 9th, 1 week from today. If you guys are a part of my Sunday morning group, prepare. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the astrology for the week ahead, building all the way up into that full moon in Aries. So it's going to kick off with today, okay, the 2nd, and this is going to be, Mercury is going to be going direct. So it's stationing. It's been stationing the last couple days, which means Mercury has been very strong. Those of you guys who are aware, Mercury actually started its retrograde in the sign of Libra, and it dipped back down into Virgo, where it's in its exaltation. Now, in the midst of this Mercury retrograde, obviously we have seen a number of oppositions to Jupiter in Aries. So we're learning that in order for us to partner better, relate better, find the middle ground, kind of mediate, there is a need to actually take action, and we have to be courageous and willing to expand, get outside of our comfort zone, right? Jupiter is retrograde pretty soon at the end of the month. It's going to dip back into Pisces. Now, we've also seen several trines between Mercury and Pluto, which is quite positive, actually. Digging deep, getting to the bottom of issues, being able to strategize, problem solve, schedule things. The hang up, though, is that even though technically the Mercury retrograde is over, the shadow is going to hang around for about 10 days, or at least until Mercury gets to about 8 or 9 degrees of Libra. And also, even though Mercury is direct, it's still in opposition by about 1 degree to Neptune. So too long, didn't listen, don't understand. Things aren't going to really wear off for about another 2 weeks, both because we have Neptune in the shadow in opposition to Neptune, and also Mercury is in a square with Mars. So mutable change produces changes, okay? So if you think about the last couple days, really take a look at what was going on Friday and Saturday, right? The moon has been in Sagittarius, squaring all of these points, and everybody seems frazzled because a lot of things are changing. So now that we're getting into today on the 2nd, the moon is in Capricorn, so we still feel a little discombobulated. We'll see that the moon is forming squares, both with the sun and Venus. So lots of like productivity in the air Sunday, Monday, but it feels like things aren't quite going according to plan, or there is just action in several different areas of our life. Secondly, we are also going to be seeing that, you know, pretty soon here, Mars is slowing down. So you're going to see once Mars gets to about 24, 25 degrees, it's going to start stationing. This will be throughout, you know, like the next week or two, but this will be a prolonged square between Mars and Neptune. Now, I'm putting together a video for it specifically this week. I touched on it a little bit during my other videos, but Mars is our direction, where we are going, what we're fighting for, right? It's about aggression and linear motion. As Mars forms a square to Neptune, it's an opening square, since it really conjuncted Neptune earlier this spring with like Venus, and it was super dreamy and whimsical, and I think a lot of us were dreaming about what the future could hold. Now we're realizing that the future is not defined. with a mutable square and an impending Mars retrograde. So you guys are going to start feeling the Mars square Neptune. Confusion, getting lost. It's like every single time I've been in my car using my GPS, something goes on with my GPS and I realize I get turned around. That's really what the energy reminds me of, is you're driving somewhere, Mars, and you think you're going in one direction because you're looking at the screen, Neptune, and you realize it doesn't even know where it's going and you wind up somewhere else. So a lot of us might kind of feel that in the next couple of weeks. Now let's go to the 3rd. And on the 3rd, we're going to see that the moon in Capricorn, even though that can be kind of emotionally rigid, the moon isn't the most comfortable in Capricorn. It's making some really nice aspects once we get to Tuesday, and it's going to start forming late Monday night trines to the North Node, and also in the morning of the 3rd, the moon will be in a trine to Uranus. So it's like getting things done. We're planning something. We're executing tasks. And on the flip side, we also see that the moon is coming into trine now with Mercury direct. So we're going to see some earth trines with the moon that's helping us kind of organize, communicate, plan, strategize. Really great day, Monday and Tuesday, for meetings and getting things done. Although I'm more of a fan of Tuesday. So if you're like, I got to tackle a project, I got to organize something, I got to start preparing my taxes, it's a good time to do it, especially before the evening, because as we get into the evening, the moon will conjunct Pluto. So that's like a very, oh, how do I feel about the fact things are changing? Am I resisting that? Watch for emotional discord, power struggles. But I think for the most part, to be honest with you, the fact that it trines out through Uranus and it also trines out through Mercury, it gives us the opportunity to communicate and talk about like where things are scary or making change is difficult. And it's going to help us, really communicate and get that out. Let's go now to Wednesday on the 4th. And, okay, so that is going to be, is that the 4th? I believe it is. Sunday, Monday, yeah. So no, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. It's gonna be the 5th. Sorry. Is it the 4th or is it the 5th? Okay, total Mercury retrograde moment. It's gonna be Wednesday. Let's just leave it at that. The moon in Aquarius is coming into a trine. So we've got the moon here. And it's coming into a trine with both Venus and the sun. So this is interesting. Even though the moon is approaching Saturn, we know that when the moon goes through the fixed signs, it has all kinds of like squares and oppositions and things. Sweet day also on the 4th, as we see the moon in Aquarius, which is highlighting like collective goals, where we're going, what direction we're going in our life, what we're hoping to achieve with others, friendships. Moon trine Venus and the sun. So super social, very warm. I see this as an opportunity to like make plans with friends, make plans with networks. If you're wanting to get a group of people together, if you're wanting to kind of strategize and have like a team meeting, even if it's going to be like digital, looks pretty nice. When the sun trines the moon, like things just come together naturally and it feels like everything is just falling into place. When the moon trines Venus, relationships, harmony, emotions are so much more, like positive. So another decent day. And this will be before the next day on the 5th that the moon is getting into the later degrees of Aquarius. So keep in mind that you'll start feeling this in the evening. It's kind of what I'm feeling of the 4th. And this is when the moon is going to start getting closer to about 12 or 13 degrees. Some unusual stuff. On one hand, the moon is going to square her own nodes. Okay, so it basically is saying is karmic things are happening, fateful things are happening. Most of us are going to be asleep, at least here in the United States, because it's going to be really early in the morning. But things that happen overnight. So maybe we go to bed, we're sleeping on something, we're thinking about something, having to make a serious decision or something of that nature that maybe we talk over with a partner, maybe we talk over with our friends. And then we get up in the morning and we make a decision. Later in the day, on the 5th, then the moon is coming into a square with Uranus and a conjunction with Saturn. Guys, this is going to be the day that you're going to feel the Saturn-Uranus square for sure. Even if you don't have any fixed placements, because we have the moon, Saturn, Uranus all coming together at 18 degrees. squaring. Moon Saturn is serious commitment, serious goals, restriction, limitation, a difficult time sharing our feelings. And then when we've got Moon square Uranus, it's how we're responding to fluctuations and changes in regards to our physical reality or our food or our resources. And then we're seeing the return of Saturn and Uranus square. Super strong for this month, really going into the eclipses mid-November. This is the last time we're going to see Saturn and Uranus at these 18 degrees squaring off. I did a video on this recently kind of talking about how this is a part of a long-term storyline that's been going on since 2021. So you have to take a look at where both Saturn and Aquarius are in your chart. What I anticipate is that with this square, just people not responding well to fateful events, people not responding well to change, right? Because when we see planets in the fixed signs, conjunction or squares, they don't want to change. So there can be this feeling, especially on the 5th, of just emotional heaviness is kind of the feeling that I'm getting here, okay? But once again, we're still feeding off those air trines. So I like the fact that we're still kind of picking up energy that is coming from, you know, Venus and the Sun, moving together through Libra, really putting a highlight on work together, relationships, harmony, right? All of that stuff. Okay, so now let's take this to the 6th. And this is going to be when the moon is coming into Pisces. Early morning on October 6th, the moon enters into Pisces. So those of you guys who are not familiar, this is kind of like that balsamic phase. This is when the moon is going through the sign right before there is like a full moon or a completion. And yeah, we're going to feel like the intensity kind of like pick up, if that makes sense. So it's getting ready to really kind of come to full steam. Moon in Pisces, emotional, reserved. You know, we're going to have time for privacy. What I'm not wild about is with the moon coming into inconjunct or quincunx Venus and the Sun. Libra and Pisces don't always resonate, right? They create that funky inconjunct to each other. So the more Libra wants to partner or wants harmony, the more Pisces is like, give me space. And the more that Pisces is like, give me space, the more that Libra pushes. So kind of a funky day on tap. Although, even in spite of that, the final third Mercury trine Pluto is setting up. So you want to look at the last several times that those dates happen. It's been happening off and on really since the better part of the end of August. That's when we were coming into the shadow. So the moon's going to continue to go through Pisces. And I don't really anticipate things get kind of weird until we see on Friday, early in the morning, the moon is approaching Neptune, really even into the morning, into the afternoon. My mind's on pumpkins, obviously you guys can tell. So moon, Neptune coming together in Pisces, it wants to retreat, it wants to rest, it wants to sleep, it wants to have its alone time. People are going to be a little bit more sensitive, I think, also with the moon trying the south node. Here's where things get kind of wonky, so stay with me. We're then going to see some more mutable squares. So as the moon conjuncts Neptune, having us in our feelings and needing to kind of be alone to reflect, it's going to oppose Mercury. So it's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. What do I say to this? How do I respond? And then it's going to square Mars. So Mars is actually going to be the focal point of a mutable square here. I've just been observing it the last 4 to 8 hours, how that mutable square has kind of played out with the moon having been in Sagittarius, and it's like nuts because everybody's changing things and there's like stuff that's kind of getting rearranged because of Mercury. So this may not be the best day, the 7th or the 8th, to be like, we need to talk about it, or like, I'm coming over. Like, I could see that there are some people that are going to be really pushy about communicating and getting to the bottom of things. And I can see there's going to be other people collectively that are going to get overwhelmed. They're going to go, I don't know how to talk about this. I can't process this. Leave me alone. I'm hiding under the covers with that moon, Neptune, and Pisces. So not the best day for communication, obviously leading us up to what is then going to be this full moon that we're going to be having, and that's going to be taking place on Sunday. So it'll be, here we go, closer to the 9th. So we see the Mercury moon opposition hang out for quite some time, really until the early hours of the 8th. Energy shifts big time, man. You know, once we get to around 10 o'clock Pacific AM on the 8th, we then see the moon in Aries come into conjunction with Jupiter. So it's like, okay, I have freedom. I'm ready to take action now. I've reflected on something. Like I'm back at it. This will be the build that we're coming into right before we have the full moon, okay? So energy is really building. I think we're going to feel it from the second, probably, that the moon goes into Aquarius, to be honest with you, because I think the moon's going to go into Aquarius earlier in the week. It's going to conjunct Saturn, and we're going to realize like we need to make a group decision. Like there's a lot of having to consult with other people. Libra is a social sign. Aquarius is a social sign. So seeing all these planets trying each other, it's like we have to check in with grandma and our best friend and our neighbor and our partner. Like there's a lot of like other people playing a role in some of the fateful events that are taking place this week. But we take action when we're in Aries. So I have a feeling that as the moon enters Aries on the 8th, conjunct Jupiter, it's like, hey, I feel good about it. I feel like it's possible. We can totally make this work. It's going to be great. Like, let's get started. The problem is that as the moon starts moving through Aries and it starts coming into the opposition with Venus, which is going to be somewhere around the early hours of the 9th. So like, you want to get pumped, you want to start something, you want to get ready to launch something, like whatever, like you want to do that on the 8th, because by the time you get to the 9th, boy, oh boy, is there a lot going on in this full moon chart. So let me pull this chart up. So this will be a full moon in Aries on October 9th at 1:54 p.m. Pacific time. So that's going to be what, 4:54 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, I know there's people all over the world, so you want to check your time zone and adjust accordingly. But I think we're going to feel it. And when you look at this chart, it's interesting because there's a lot of aspects that didn't really pop up when I first looked at it. And then the more that I looked at it, it kind of like unfolded into like a ton of aspects that I made notes about. So I'll get into that in a second. But when we have a full moon, right, that's an opposition between the sun and the moon, and there is a sense of the sun highlighting themes of the moon, okay? So we're looking at the axis of Aries and Libra. What is Aries? Aries is about the self, motivation, entrepreneurial, independent, courageous, combative, right, fierce. Anything that's about just initiating something. The fire signs deal with life. So Aries being the first of the fire sign, it's like striking the match, right? And then it gives it to Leo. And then Leo turns it into like a pyro party. And then it gives it to Sag. And then Sag, you know, preaches about everything. So we're starting something, which is weird because we're also completing something. So if we actually go back in time, this is a completion of something that we have been working on since we had the new moon that was in Aries earlier this year. So if we look at that, it was right around here, right around March 31st, 2022. We had a new moon in Aries that was at 11 degrees and it was conjunct Chiron. So it was basically saying like, whoa, there is this thing that I want for myself. I want to initiate something. I want to start something. But it's painful, but it's scary, but I have to kind of rip off the Band-Aid, or I have to do it by myself. Aries is where we have to go at something alone. We have to kind of spearhead something and initiate something. So even if you're not an Aries, Aries is going to have placement in your natal chart somewhere. I'll take you guys through it at the end. But any intentions you've been setting since this particular new moon is now setting you up to see the conclusion. So it's a buildup, right? So here we come to the full moon. And there's been a lot. 2 weeks ago, we had a new moon in Libra. We've been in a Mercury retrograde trying to figure out how we can better partner, work with other people, and like where we're kind of seeing some friction. I see more relationship changes happen when we have full moons in both Aries and Libra. Okay, so we always have an Aries full moon that's taking place round about this time every season. And Aries is also with that opposition to the sun, where it's like there can be some emotional responses. hey, that hurts, right? Moon conjunct Chiron, that hurt my feelings, or that's a wound, or, you know, I'm having issues with family, home, mother figures, something we're sensitive about. And being an Aries moon, I feel the need to kind of say that just because this is a fire moon, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not emotional, because Aries is the sign of the zodiac. So, you know, Aries moons have this tendency to just react very like emotionally and very quickly, and they can get very heated, and they can act out sometimes. They can sometimes be immature. They can lash out. That's what we do. But it's because it's ruled by Mars, so it needs that outlet, right? So my message to you guys, before I even get into the whole full moon spiel, is be mindful that there are going to be very strong emotional impulses that are going to come with this full moon. And because it's conjunct Chiron, okay, it is also indicating that as a result of some of our emotional wounding, that can reflect back on our relationship. So we can be projecting that if we have insecurity issues, if we're having painful things coming up. There may be partners that are coming in that are saying, let me help you, you know, let me fix it. Let's talk about it. And there can be a sense of, if you're not an active participant in your own healing, if you're not willing to open the wound up, if you're not willing to let other people come in and help you, it can be a very difficult time when it comes to partnerships. And when I say partnerships, I don't just mean boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. I mean family relationships, because it is a full moon. It can also be business partnerships, counselors, right? And the sun, in opposition to the moon, is also in opposition to Chiron, and Venus is there. So there can be people who come in that say, why won't you talk to me about it? Why are you leaving? Why don't you want to work it out? Like, we're going to see this dynamic like across the board. Okay, so you guys have the date and the time. Obviously, we know that Aries is the very first sign of the zodiac. So it initiates things. It brings things in. It has to get started. So it's weird, right, that we have a full moon that's relating to new beginnings, but maybe it's about looking at what we've started come the astrological new year that took place in the spring of 2022, and how far we've come, and whether or not we're able to merge some of these intentions alongside our most important people in our lives. So whoever it is that you partner with, or whoever it is that you bring in, that you seek love and appreciation and relationship from, right? This is going to be a full moon that's at 16 degrees, and 16 degrees has a connection to Cancerian topics. So things like mothers, grandmothers, nurturers, caretakers, our roots, our home, our past. So there is something about the past that can be coming up, or in regards to our home life or our family or domestic stuff, that is getting triggered, that is creating some problems in terms of finding harmony with others. We will read the Sabian symbol for 17 degrees. I'll get into that in a second. I want to talk to you guys about the aspects first. I think that it's just so fascinating to me that right around the time that we're having this full moon in Aries, that we also see some really nice supportive trines happening between Mars, which is the ruler, with the Sun, Venus, and also with Saturn, okay? So yeah, this full moon's gonna bring some, I don't like that, that's not nice, this isn't fair, or, you know, you need this, but I need that, I need to focus on me first. Like, Aries doesn't have a problem kind of stirring the pot a little bit, because it's really passionate and fixated on doing something for itself. And so I think that if there is stuff coming up where we're not partnering well, or we're not liking something, then Mars, which even though it's in its shadow, is in some pretty harmonious aspects to other planets. We've got Mars in a trine with Saturn. It's kind of wearing off, but we're gonna see in the retrograde it's gonna come back. And this is about our actions, our drive, our words, what we're saying, actually like having weight, right? Saturn is about weight or commitment or timing. I am gonna do this. This is how long it's gonna take me. I'll turn it in by this date, or give me 3 days, that type of stuff. I'm working on it. Then we've got Mars that's coming into trine over the next week after the full moon. We'll see with Venus and also the Sun, right? So there's these really nice air trines that are gonna happen really all month long, They're happening more so at the first 2 weeks of October, and they're highlighting the need to take action, pick up the phone, ask for help, tell people how we're feeling, share our goals, and also sometimes bring together a group of people in order to be able to work out a problem so we can actually get things done. So I do anticipate lots of meetings, lots of emails, like that kind of stuff that's happening. That's like, hey, you know, did you take care of this? Okay, you didn't. Well, so-and-so needs you to do this. How can we help you, you know, get this completed? When in doubt, communicate. I'm also wanting to really highlight the fact that with any full moon, the moon is talking about our emotional needs, what is being highlighted emotionally, right? New moons is like, well, how are we setting new intentions? How are we bringing the conscious and the subconscious together, that sun-moon conjunction? So this already represents, with an opposition 180 degrees, something that's relational, okay? And that's something that Aries and Libra know a lot about, because there cannot be two people without two separate individuals. So I think some people are going to be feeling, my partner needs one thing and I need another, right? Or they like one type of curtains and I like another. Like there's going to be, it sounds silly, but there's going to be stuff like that that's coming up where we realize that in order for us to have domestic bliss, be happy, be able to cohabitate, be able to like prepare for the holidays which are coming, there's going to be a lot of static in regards to what we need personally versus what other people want from us. And this is also highlighting the moon in opposition to Venus. I feel like a moon in Aries is not the most warm and fuzzy moon. It's kind of like direct and between the eyes, and it has a tendency to, you know, be like, okay, you know, pick yourself up, you've got it, handle it, you can do it. So there can be like a lot of like loving and nurturing people from a distance with Venus in opposition. I have seen Venus moon oppositions also play out as being like, I need more, give me more. So in a relationship dynamic or with clients or with like friends, there can be a sense of somebody who's like really attaching and globbing on, and somebody who's like, whoa, this is not good for me, give me some space, okay? I also want to show you guys an aspect, so I'm going to remove some stuff so you can see this a little bit better. So we have something that's called a kite, okay? And so it can be harder to see. Let me draw on this and show you guys. Just know that the kite is actually, the focal point is going to be the sun and Venus. And that's why I think that sun and Venus actually carries a lot of weight, not just because of the trines, which we see here, but because we have a sextile between Saturn and Aquarius to the moon, so where the group collective is helping inspire individuals to go towards their goals. The moon in Aries, which is being highlighted, it's a theme that's like, be active, be courageous, be willing to be independent and go your own way. It then sextiles Mars in Aries, which is like, yeah, this is what I want to initiate. Okay, here I go, or talking about it. And then it creates that focal point with the trine and that focal point with the trine here. I know that's a weird looking kite, sorry, but that's the kite. So it's talking about two sextiles working together harmoniously, an opposition which is stressful, and a trine which brings it all together. So basically I talked about these all separately, but kites do sometimes represent a moment where everything comes together in perfect timing, and the apex is kind of like, this is where we're going. We're starting something new, right? So something new is being brought in with this kite. Okay, that looks more like a kite. And we have to really build off of, or whatever is coming up, could be 3 days before, 3 days after this full moon. So we can go deeper into partnership, and we can go deeper into union, harmony, finding balance. For some people who aren't in relationships, it's not always about being in a relationship. Sometimes it's being like, well, you know, what are other people doing for me? I'm putting a lot of stuff out there, I'm doing a lot, but you know, I could use support as well from friends, family, coworkers. But I have a feeling that if you're having difficulty in relationships, if you're willing to reach out and call a friend and ask them for their opinion or for their assistance, if you're asking also like, you know, how do I talk about this? How do I work through this? That Saturn trine Mars, ruler of the moon, is going to also say to you, Be assertive, say what you feel, talk about it, be stern, stay committed to, you know, your values. So for some people, the way I think through the rockiness of what can be a very sensitive and a very emotional full moon in Aries conjunct Chiron can be, let's be a little bit more abstract, let's be a little bit less emotional, let's be more practical, more logical with all of these air trines, and share, hey, you know what, this is actually what I need from you in relationship, or it's nothing personal, I just need some space. And as long as we have an outlet, either socially or verbally, or just action, you know, Aries can be about getting active, going and being physically active, going for a walk, journaling, going for a run. We can see all of this with the moon in a sextile to Mars in Gemini, that if we're more so focused in communicating and talking about what it is that we need in order to take action and for people not to take it personally, the better. So communicate, communicate, communicate when you can throughout this full moon. Okay, let me bring all my stuff back because we may need some of it. Let's just do that. So we've got the main players here. Okay. Let me give you guys, let's see. So Venus opposite the moon, moon conjunct Chiron, healing ourselves, being aware and tending to our own needs. Huge theme. This can be physical, this can be emotional, this can be spiritual. You know, I think it's also about mentally knowing when to be like, I'm stressed, because the ruler of this is in a mental sign. I think it's also about learning how to communicate and express when you aren't doing well on a personal level, or if you're feeling like burnt out, right? Because Mars is also coming into a square with Neptune. So there can be a sense of being like, I don't know, don't push me, or I'm not sure. And like, if people get pushed to communicate when they're not ready to, like, there can be some like people who are kind of biting, right? Because Mars is just getting ready to come into its first square with Neptune. Chiron themes, right? So needing to come to terms with the fact that it's okay to be different, it's okay to stand out, it's okay to sometimes disagree, it's okay to also feel like you need to go your own way. Like the medicine of Chiron is about being able to allow that to come into our life and not hinder us from feeling complete or feeling capable or feeling worthy. And I could see with Chiron in opposition to the Sun Venus, like people who aren't in relationships are going to be very sensitive about the fact that, you know, they could really probably benefit from having somebody in their corner. Or if there are relationships that are having problems and people who are going through separations and breakups during this full moon, there could be a lot of like, oh, no, it's not you, it's me. And people will be like, what do you mean it's you? Like, I'm giving you everything. Like, why is it that you can't just show up in this dynamic? I'm willing to make it work. If people are saying it's not you, it's me, there could be some truth to that, especially with the sextile to Saturn and also the sextile to Mars. This could be like you having a phone call with a sibling or a good friend or a relative and talking about the relationship, and then the friend or the relative's like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Maybe you guys have different goals. Maybe you guys are going in a different direction. So rather than fighting it out or blaming each other, maybe it's a matter of just recognizing that maybe that individual isn't ready for a relationship. Maybe they're not ready to do the work. I guess the theme that keeps coming up for me with Chiron and Aries is like, you gotta wanna help people who wanna help themselves. If people don't wanna help themselves, if they don't wanna heal themselves, if they want to look at themselves or their life like they're the victim, or if they want to stay in a habitual pattern of just hurting themselves and hurting other people and continuing that pattern, it's not really benefiting us being in a relationship. It's actually doing us a disservice. So for some, it might be the harsh reality that in order to better be in a relationship, there is a need to stand up and acknowledge, hey, this is hurting me, this isn't really working. You know, maybe we need to take some space, or maybe I need to start reevaluating. What this also tells me is that we can't put all of our happiness or our focus or base our happiness on whether or not our partner is happy, or whether or not they are responding well to things. Because I could see like that Sun Venus in opposition to the moon that's like let me give you flowers, let me give you, you know, jewelry, like it's very Venus and Libra, like let's go out on a date, let's do this. And then you can see that, like, you know, some individuals are just going to be ornery, or they're just going to be cantankerous and difficult to deal with. And a lot of it is because there's something that's not sitting right with an individual in regards to this full moon. So I feel that the full moon is kind of like the final exam or the test to see, like, have you actually been carrying to these wounds? You know, is there a problem that's been lurking for the last 6 months that you haven't acknowledged, and now is it going to go kaboom? And, you know, you love who you love. So if you're in a relationship or a business partnership, or if you're friends with somebody who's going through a difficult time and reaching out to them, you're not really seeing anything changing, or vice versa. You could be in that situation. Sometimes it's a matter of just giving them a little bit of space. And you might find that as Venus comes deeper into Libra over these next couple of weeks, and it trines Saturn and it also trines Mars, that, you know, we can sometimes, through taking space or spending time with friends or having time to kind of just relax and bounce back, that absence can make the heart grow fonder. I think that's something else that I've learned from the axis of Aries and Libra, that time apart or that time away sometimes is just what you need, just to kind of clear the air. The pain of separation in some cases as well. I mean, I know I've touched on that, I think, with just the moon in opposition to Libra. Talked about this with my partner in crime on my podcast, just how, like, Libra season is like cuffing season, and you see all these people that want to get into relationships because the holidays are coming. So there is this sense of, like, October, November, December wanting to be with people, right? And the Sun and Venus is highlighting that. I think we're going to see even more as Mercury goes into Libra. But I feel like still with Jupiter and Chiron and now this full moon in an opposite sign, like, there are going to be some people who are like, no, I don't want to just get into a relationship because I don't want to be alone. No, I don't want to just lower my standards to be with somebody because everybody else has somebody, or, you know, it's the holidays that are coming and I don't want to go home alone. Guys, we have Saturn in Aquarius and Jupiter in Aries. This is a lot of very independent energy. Like, there are a lot of people who are becoming more okay with the idea of, I don't have to be in a relationship, I don't have to be married, I don't have to be partnered, I don't have to be committed, right? These are very kind of free related signs. So we might find that there is friction that's coming more because individuals are having a difficult time relating to other people or family members who don't understand that don't understand why, you know, people have higher standards, or people aren't seeing the benefit of being in relationships or committed partnerships in general, like that, you know. So we're going to see more and more of this. I think Saturn in Aquarius set this up. I think Jupiter and also Chiron in Aries is, I think, hopefully waking a lot of people up and making them realize that it's better off to be alone and working on your stuff and working it out until you get to a place where you either know you're ready or you've made a decision, than going relationship to relationship to relationship, carrying around that kind of weight, right, from stuff that's never been dealt with. So I think people are becoming a little bit more okay with working through this on a personal level. We're rejecting what's superficial. Sun, Venus, and Libra. I could see where, like, Aries and Chiron is a lot of, like, yeah, but that's fake, you know, that, like, that's not real. And whether they're taking digs or they're looking at relationships that might be superficial, or, you know, any kind of anything in their life in terms of social stuff too. So there's going to be a less likelihood of, like, wanting to just go along with the crowd and be people pleasing. With the moon opposed Aries, it's going to be like, well, we promised we were going to go out to dinner with my parents, and it's like, I don't feel like that. My favorite show is on, you know, or, like, I already committed to, you know, going and doing this thing on my own, or I'm taking a class. I can see that with Jupiter and Aries. Or I planned a trip, like, I can't go with you. So we're gonna see that we're gonna have difference of opinions on socializing and values and what might be expected of us in relationships. We might find it's just not really resonating with us on a personal level. Oppositions between Aries and Venus bring up that, you know, the oldest rivalry, the Mars-Venus rivalry. And the question is there going to be war or is there going to be peace, right? because shortly after this full moon, the next day, the moon is going to move further into Aries and it's going to square Pluto. Later in the month of October, Venus and the Sun, all towards the end of the month, closer to like I think it's like the 20th on, Venus and the Sun will also square Pluto. So there's something going on here now that Pluto is woken up and he is direct, where in order for us personally and in terms of our partnerships to grow, we need to overcome these Pluto squares and really examine and identify where there can be long-standing Capricorn power struggles, difficult situations, things that are kind of getting unearthed. Believe it or not, guys, we are not going to see many more of these squares, because next year we're going to see Pluto go into Aquarius briefly. So these ones are ones to watch. This is going to be the closing square, since we had all of these planets conjunct in January of this year when we had a Venus retrograde. So it opened up in March and April. We saw the first squares. We saw the oppositions in June and July, and now these are the closing squares before all these planets come back into conjunction with Pluto. So there can be some crankiness, there can be some kind of clearing things out, getting rid of stuff, the truth coming out, or darker side of things coming out in relationships. And like I said, with these trines, these air trines, talk it out, communicate, meditate, whatever you got to do, write a letter. That's really going to help you. Okay, so we went through most of the aspects, but I'll just touch on it really quickly. So the oppositions to the Sun and Venus in Libra with Chiron, pain involved, the need to rip off the bandage in some way and finally heal something. Moon conjunct Chiron, addressing personal wounds. We have also got Mercury that is coming back into its third opposition with Jupiter. And that is going to be bringing up the need to communicate, share, talk to people, talk about our beliefs, connect, maybe even travel. We are also going to see with that moon in opposition to Venus, that we need more from other people, and questioning how we nurture, or whether we're feeling pushed away or pushing someone away in some capacity. We've got the moon in a sextile with Saturn, so we're feeling supported, especially in regards to our friends or our network. So that's why it's important to stay connected during this full moon. We've also got the moon that's in a sextile to Mars, which is getting active, communicative, inspired. Words are power, and they're also really important for motivation. Mars square Neptune, which is going to be really asking us, what direction are we going in? Is there truth in regards to what we're debating or talking about? What direction are we going in? Watch out, because there can be some like false information or false motives, or like people going through the motions but like not being honest or not being seriously committed. Like there's a need to kind of like look through and be able to see where it's like, is somebody like really a good person? I mean, I'm not saying this to judge people, or are they just like acting like it, Are you really happy in your relationship, or are you just going through the motions and acting like it? These are things that you kind of want to watch for. And that Mercury in Virgo, trine Pluto in Capricorn is deep. It's about communication, ideas, uncovering things. So this is that buildup that's been happening for 2 weeks since we set the new moon in Libra, focusing more on relationships, capping it off with a full moon conjunct Chiron. And the truth is that we are not perfect. I think the moon conjunct Chiron is we're not perfect. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we can lash out, or sometimes we can act in a way that can be impulsive or selfish. But that is really showing where we have more work to do on ourselves. And if we're able to work on that or get the support of other people, we can work through it. Okay. So let me read you guys the Sabian symbol. So even though it's 16 degrees and change. So we're going to read 17 degrees today. Sabian symbol, Screen of Prophecy book. I read this and I kind of chuckled because I was like, I could see how this relates. Okay, so Aries 17, 2 spinsters. The keyword is divorcement. The theme is seclusion. The symbol speaks to detachment and withdrawal from society, retreat into a private reality of the self's own making. The image of 2 prime spinsters depicts two unmarried women who appear to be linked to each other in some way. This emphasizes excessive attention to propriety, and thus it is certain that it suggests judgmentalism and fixation on the right and wrong way of doing things. The implication here is that two spinsters, seemingly removed from the rest of the world, symbolize subjective thinking and a conscious disdain or rejection of the ideas and opinions of others, as well as a willingness to give up the rewards of normal society's relationships in exchange for the privilege of being left alone to do as they please. On a practical level, this symbolizes the individual who neither wants nor seeks advice but prefers his own company than that of others. At its highest, it represents independent thinking, faithfulness to the self and its ideas, but watch for isolating yourself and kind of like holier than God attitude. You may find yourself in a more serious or critical mood or thinking in terms of rights and wrong, good and bad. In fact, you may prefer to be left alone with your thoughts. The initial response today is, I don't like it. And you might be thinking, if I can't have it my way, I would rather not have it at all. Your greatest advantage lies in keeping an open mind and listening to all sides before making a decision. Guard against alienating others through excessive criticism. Detachment, withdrawal, rejection, retreat, seclusion, subjectivity, self-sufficiency. I see the pros and cons here. I guess one thing that I should note after reading that is I could see, with Mercury still being in Virgo and with the Sun and Venus, which is other people's preferences, other people's ideas, right, in terms of relationships and harmony, coming into that opposition is like you're going to have some people that can be a little nitpicky. That is the case. That can happen. And through relationships, obviously, you know, sometimes stuff happens, like people bicker, like nobody ever, I think, really has like the perfect relationship. There's always like a sense of having to work together and meeting in the middle. But building off what I was saying, where some people are really okay being like, why do I want to be in a relationship? What does it have to offer me? You know, there can be some people who have some really strong opinions based off of this. And I think that if it works for some people, great. But there is a sense in this, and me feeling the need to say, like, some people are going to push against the idea of relationships and commitment purely because it's too much work. And because you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, and that means you have to work on yourself and also show up for the other person. And I think some people are going to look at whatever is going on in their relationship dynamics during this full moon and go, is it worth this? Do I want to do this? You know, or this doesn't work for me, so I'm going to cross my arms and walk out of the room. It takes two to tango. And it's important to look at some of these situations and keep an open mind and not close ourselves off to other people giving us what can be support or really good advice or possibly even some constructive criticism, which can help us really self-reflect and like look at some of our own wounds and why maybe we are closed off to letting other people help us or why we are pushing other people away, okay? I'm sure you guys want to know who this is going to affect the most. So 15 to 17 degrees of Aries. This will affect you the most. Sun, moon, rising, or a personal planet. Followed by the cardinal signs. So 15 to 17 degrees of Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. You are going to feel this quite significantly as well. You will experience a square. So the square is going to create pressure and tension. For Leo and Sagittarius, if you have 15 to 17 degrees of those placements, you are going to have fire trines, which means it's going to be supportive. It's going to have you feeling active and inspired. For Aquarius and Gemini, if you have placements between 15 and 17 degrees, sun, moon, rising, personal planets, you will experience a sextile, okay? Air feels fire, so this is helpful. So you want to take a look at where it's forming the sextile to your personal planets. For water signs, this is not, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not going to affect you, but it's more taking place relating to physical changes. So this is happening in houses for you water signs that deal with physical shifts. We're going to be seeing those air trines happening between, you know, your 4th, 7th, and 12th houses. And then if we look at, your 2nd, 6th, and 10th house. If we look at earth signs, this is going to be relating to emotions and endings of cycles. So it'll be the earth signs that will be experiencing this in water houses, okay? Sun, moon, rising. Obviously, my predictions are always Western astrology, so you're going to make the most out of my predictions by listening to your ascendant horoscope, followed by your sun and then your moon. And it's going to tell you specifically where this full moon is taking place based off of your ascendant. For the sole purpose of this kind of making sense and being relatable, I am using whole sign technique. So I will be talking to you guys about this through the 12 whole rising signs, okay? Okay, so for Aries and Aries rising, you have got a full moon taking place in your sign. So it is a completion of personal goals that you've been working on since about March of this last year. It is highlighting the 7th house and the 1st house. A lot of what I've been saying really resonates with you, I'm sure. The moon rules your 4th house of home, so there seems to be a little bit of a back and forth that you're having with another person. It can be somebody who's interested in your home. It can be in you going back and forth with a partner or family about a home situation. There can be physical changes happening when the full moon happens on your ascendant. So I've seen people go through huge body transformations. I've seen people also just, you're more emotional. You might have a change in your wardrobe, something like that. Being that the moon is in your 1st house, it does make you emotional and it rules your 4th. So I think that you're getting emotional about something that might be changing on the home front or the family front, or showing more emotional reactivity in regards to your relationships. You want to watch, okay? Because across the board, for all 12 signs, this is really highlighting Chiron. So it's going to have a painful needing to acknowledge something type aspect for everyone. So what I have for you guys is major changes with the self and the body, and major change revolving around negative self-talk or behavior, and where you are either way too hard on yourself, or there is a sense of you not giving enough to yourself, and there in turn sometimes creating some situations where there's some tension or like some animosity that you might have with partners. The card that I got for you is the Page of Wands. So feeling adventurous, feeling free. Like personally, if you got a full moon in your sign, it's in your 1st house, like you need some time to yourself. I feel like with the Page of Wands, because the page is always very curious and he's always about like, how can I go and walk around the neighborhood, or what am I learning, or what am I, you know, like actively doing? Like this is about being physically active. So I would encourage you to take a little bit of time on the full moon to be by yourself and to really kind of sit with your feelings. Pages can also talk about younger people. I mean, the truth is sometimes for Aries placements, when there is a full moon, or any activation between their 4th and sometimes their ascendant or their 5th house lord. For some of you guys, it can be pregnancy, right? Jupiter is still in your sign and you got a full moon here. So it can be pregnancy. So pages can be younger people that are coming in. It can also be that you're going back and forth with a younger person. Maybe you're feeling adventurous. Maybe you want to go on a trip by yourself. Whatever it is, take a little bit of time to be by yourself during this lunation. Good luck, Aries. For Taurus and Taurus rising, what's up, Taurus? You have got a full moon taking place in Aries in your 12th house. So this is wrapping things up, clearing things out, subconscious things that are going on for you, okay? This is unusual, Taurus, because Aries is 12th house. So it's stuff that you don't see. It's stuff that happens in your dreams, behind closed doors, things of that nature. Now you've got the aspect between your 6th and also your 12th, wrapping something up that you have been working on for about 6 months. 6th house can be spiritual. It can be, you know, having a breakthrough in therapy. It can be finally closing a chapter, especially relating to the moon. Some of you guys are planning on moving. Some of you guys are finally having a conversation with a family member or a relative that needs to happen. But whatever it is, it's out of your control. Like we can't really control what's going on in the 12th house. We can see some negative behavior though. And Taurus, I'll tell you, with Jupiter in your 12th house and also Chiron and the moon there, you're going to be a little bit more sensitive than usual. You're probably having some issues with your sleep patterns. That's something else that might be happening. And you might notice that right around the time of the full moon, you're like, I just can't sleep. I'm restless. Working out before you go to bed can be really helpful for you, and just coming up with a routine and winding down, or a faith-based practice. So praying, you know, chanting, you know, listening to a service or motivational something before you go to sleep can be nice, giving you a little bit more peace. And I feel like you're going to be restless as well. Now be careful because you got planets in your 6th house that are highlighting health and routine. And then you've got a full moon in your 12th. So those of you guys who have been dealing with some health related issues, that can kind of come full circle during the full moon. And it can put you in a situation where you have to see a doctor, a therapist, a healer, a professional of some kind. Likely it's going to be somebody that you talk to or somebody who's in your close environment who can help you work through some of this anxiousness, okay? So the card that I get for you is the Ace of Pentacles. Not a bad card. I feel like this is basically saying like you're grounded, you're secure, even if you're feeling like you're not. Like if you're feeling like you're all over the place and you're like, I don't know where money's coming from or what's next or what's going to happen, it's going to be fine. It also makes sense because you do have support, you know, even if you are anxious, from the 12th house to your 2nd. So the truth is that there is opportunity to grow money, to grow resources. You're stressing out about things that are going to end up working themselves out. You're going to see as Mars in your house of income is still trining Saturn, and it's also trining your 6th house. You have assistance, you have help, you have people who will come in and help you figure out how to organize the house or get rid of things or clean things up. Like there's a lot of support coming in. So don't not talk about it, you know? You can't silently suffer with that going on. And physical stability, financial support is on the way. Good luck. Gemini and Gemini rising, you've got a full moon going on, and this will be in Aries. And it's happening in your 11th house of goals or anything that deals with friendships, parties, celebrations, getting together with other people, right? And it's highlighting the access of your 11th and your 5th house. So the 5th house is your creativity, your love to give, and this is others. So showing group projects, going to parties, going out on a date, hanging out with your kids, super positive here. I like the fact that the moon is sextiling Mars on your ascendant, so you're really adamant about getting active with your goals, and it's also sextiling Saturn in your 9th. So you're one of the people who are really going to be benefiting, the air signs especially, from this energy. What I have for you is just really seeing some of your goals come to fruition, seeing some of your collaborative projects coming to fruition. It is going to make it possible for you to unite maybe with a friend who you haven't seen in a while. That's something else that I could look at. Now the moon rules finances and resources and support. And I'm wondering with this if there's like a sense of you needing support, needing help, needing to join a group or an association. And somebody comes in and says, hey, like, you know, you don't have to feel like you don't have support. You can join us. So it's highlighting the fact that maybe you have been feeling like you're floating in between friend groups and you're just trying to find like your people that you can kind of spend time with. And it's finally healing that as well. Mars being the ruler in your sign, I think it's just important that you're playing an active role in trying to participate with some of your social groups as well. Watch out for not always seeing eye to eye. In some situations, there can be a situation where you're not seeing eye to eye with some friends, and there can be a bit of drama. I get the 9 of Swords. So even though this is a card that deals with anxiety, I feel like that's more stemming from Mars square Neptune. So Mars in your sign is like, where am I going? What direction am I heading in? What's going on with my career? What are my goals? What are my dreams? And not really knowing and feeling like you're just kind of spinning your wheels. So you don't want to take that out on other people. You want to allow this full moon to really empower your Mars and have you go, okay, I've got friends in high places. Who can I reach out to? Who can I connect with? There's got to be somebody who's going to be able to kind of help me find the path forward. And if people are reaching out to you and wanting to kind of celebrate things, it's probably good for you to go. It might get you a little bit out of a funk. Great socializing that you're going to have with Mars in a trine to all of these placements. It might have you active or mobile as well. And it's a great way to burn off some of that anxiety, you know. you do have eclipses that are going to start coming very soon that are going to be in your 6th and your 12th house. And I could see how these are going to start triggering anxiety or problems with sleep. But you got to stay committed to your goals and communicate and keep up with others, okay? Cancer and Cancer rising. This is a full moon that's taking place in Aries. You're the first, other than Aries, to, I guess, the second cardinal sign, but you're the first one to experience the square, okay? So you've got a full moon happening in your 10th house. This is significant because you're ruled by the moon. So whenever you have new and full moons, you feel it. This tells me that there's some big completion or something significant that's going on in regards to work, career, maybe parenting, your public reputation, something like that. And the full moon is completing what's been really 6 months of you trying to kind of really grow your career or really start or initiate something new, get more public visibility, right? Not bad. You've got Jupiter on your midheaven. You've also got the moon that's sextiling Mars. So it tells me that a lot of the growth is coming from like what you've been doing behind the scenes, or if you've been really hiding out from the world and working in your office and putting things together, like you've got a master plan. So it can be like a grand reveal of like showing people like, this is what I've been doing. This is what I've been working on. However, the fact that it's going to oppose Libra and it's also going to square some of your Cancer placement tells me that you're feeling kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place between what your responsibility is at work and like versus where you're living. And there can be some tension on the home front. Maybe you've just moved. Maybe there's some problems with roommates or family members, and you're like really feeling like, man, I need something to go right. I need a big, professional accomplishment, or I need to get a win in some way. I think you'll get it. I think it's also like a good indication for those of you guys who are hoping to get a job, or if you're hoping to get a raise, or if you're hoping to have a change in status, it's going to happen. But it is still sensitive because it has that conjunction to Chiron. So you're also like, I want people to think that I'm self-sufficient. I can take care of myself. I can stand on my own 2 feet type of vibe. And you might find that there is some difference of opinions that you're having with your family member about your career decisions. And I would say try to steer clear of those conversations. Get out there, put your stuff out there. If you're wanting to put out, anything that is going to be like marketing related or scheduling or traveling and just like letting people know, like doing this while you have trines both to Mars as well as, sextiles to Mars and sextiles to Saturn is a great way to kind of show the world what you've been working on and strategize for the future, okay? The card that I get is the 3 of Cups. So this is all about working in harmony with others, celebrating, coming together, some grand accomplishment. It could be like going out and getting drinks or celebrating that you got a raise or that you got a promotion. I think it's also about being with like-minded people and being able to feel celebrated for what you are doing. So it's about coming together with people who are going to celebrate what you've been able to do. And I think that it may be work people, right? Or it may be people, it might be people you work with, or it might be coworkers. It may not necessarily be family. That's the kind of vibe that I'm getting here. Good luck. For Leo and Leo rising, what's going on? You got a full moon in a sister sign taking place in your 9th house, Aries. So Leo, you are looking at travel, culture, education, law, getting ready to graduate, getting accepted into programs, finally publishing something, booking a trip, going somewhere, right? Something like that's going on. Jupiter's super happy in the 9th house, and the 9th house does deal with like the bigger picture in our life. It will be making positive trines to your placements in Leo, which means it's going to be very active, and you're going to feel like this is like kind of like a lucky moon. Maybe you're on the go and you're traveling. Maybe you're booking something. Regardless, to me, it seems like you're able to communicate and kind of like move with ease, and feeling very excited for some of these things that are happening. The fact that your 5th house Lord Jupiter is also here makes me feel like maybe you're planning a trip and you're going with a friend or a romantic partner, and you're really excited to like go somewhere and explore. Because this feels like very much like exploring type energy. So if you're going on a trip or you're booking a trip, it definitely makes sense. And there can be some huge like completion of something you've been learning or something you've been working on in terms of like your beliefs. So there can be like a committing to a new belief system, committing to a new practice, because the moon also rules your 12th house. So it's either committing to new spiritual practice, or maybe you're booking a trip and you're planning on going to another country. Let's see what the cards have to say. Oof. 5 of coins. So this is like, okay, but am I feeling left out in the cold? This also is talking about stuff that's going on in regards to some of the Earth transit. So I'm wondering is, as the moon goes further into your 10th house and it's squaring with Saturn, it's like, can you swing it? You know, can you swing some of the things that you're trying to do financially or time-wise? I wonder. There's also a sense with this 5 of coins of like feeling left out. So I'm wondering like, you know, are you wanting to go and do something with a group of people? Do you feel left out? Are you planning something with a partner and, you know, they fall out and you're like, what's going on? That could happen because of the sextiles to Saturn. But 5 of coins is about coming out of a cold period or feeling like that, you know, things have been kind of frosty. So if you've been in that situation with a friend, or if life has been feeling really blah, or if you've been feeling like you've been blocked, or you haven't done anything, or you haven't really given yourself any opportunities to kind of do something recently, this is the time to do it. Just keep in mind like finances or who you're going with. Like you want to make sure if you're planning on doing this with another person that they're all in, and it's not going to be something where somebody is like bailing, because that can happen sometimes when you have that card. Okay, good luck. Now we have got Virgo and Virgo rising. What's up, Virgo? We've got a full moon happening, and this is going to be in Aries, and this is in your 8th house. Full moons in the 8th house illuminate like all the skeletons in the closet, okay? So anything in regards to money, resources, funding, loans, your partner's resources. I mean, if you are partnered or if you have a business partner, a full moon here with Jupiter actually seems pretty positive. It seems like somebody's like, hey, I got a raise, or I got a bonus, or a stock paid off. It can also be a conclusion, right? You just spent, you know, 2 weeks ago setting new intentions in regards to your money, your resources, what you can spend. And this is the kind of bookended full moon that's like, okay, well, I spent this money. I got to pay off the credit card. I focused on investing more, and this is the payoff. I think what's more problematic for this for you guys is the fact that it's really talking about intimacy issues and opening up to another person, and whether or not you're willing to like open your heart or your space, or have somebody in your personal space. Again, even those of you guys who are partnered, there may be this feeling of being like, you know, I don't know where I see this relationship going, or there's change possibly happening on the home front. I don't know how I feel about that. You may have to negotiate money and resources or wages and other things while you have a full moon in your 8th house as well. And if you know that you have a looming bill that's due, or you need to pay some debt, that comes through here as well. I think with Mars being the ruler and the fact that Mars is going to go retrograde, many of you guys are realizing, either for financial reasons or because you're just spent, there needs to be a change at work. And you'll see this pretty soon, you know. I mean, the sextile between the moon and Mars is very evident that your goals in regards to the kind of money you want to make, the life that you want to live, and the job that you're working is all changing. And you're still in some very powerful negotiating energy with Mars trying all of the Libra placements, trying Saturn. The question is your time worthwhile? Is it worth what you're getting paid? That's what I would be asking myself. Is it worth the exchange? Or is it worth exploring new ways to manage money or borrow to be able to buy some time to like build the business that you want, or take time off, or what have you, until you find the right position, okay? The card that I get is the King of Wands. So interesting card. Mars in your 10th house, you can be seen as the King of Wands, you know, the full moon in Aries. It can be about an Aries or a Sag or a Leo that comes into your life that like helps kind of inspire you to do more, or to be more creative, or find your passion. This could also be you that's like, okay, I'm going to get creative with how I can drum up some more cash, or I'm going to get creative with like how I can start a side hustle and maybe grow that and like bring more in. So some of you guys, it's about just making the change in how you look at resources. For others, I think it's going to be about being willing to take risks, and that big risks can provide big rewards. Good luck. Okay, so we got Libra and Libra rising. What's up, Libra? We are going to be seeing a full moon taking place in Aries. And this is going to be in your 7th house of relationships. So similar to Aries and Cancer and Capricorn, this is a bit intense for you, Libra, because you're going to be experiencing both oppositions, and later in the month you will have squares that will go on from Libra to Capricorn. Okay, so this is a lot. 7th house in relationships. You want to take a look at what's been happening in your relationships since about March, April of 2022. You know, Jupiter being in your sign, many single Libras have met somebody and gotten into a relationship. People who were committed really started realizing what relationships were really about. The moon in your 7th house brings a lot of action to like your marketplace, your clients, your relationship, other people. So something you've been learning through the Mercury retrograde, Libra, you and Virgo, is that there's been a sense of having to really reevaluate. What do I want? What do I value? What do I think? This is getting ready to wrap up now. We're seeing that Mercury is going to come back into your sign soon. I think with the Sun and Venus in your 1st house, it's kind of like, you know, how do I look? What do I want? What makes me happy? What brings me comfort and joy and pleasure? And you're kind of in that for a hot minute, especially when Mercury shows up, because then you start really kind of communicating what it is that you need on an emotional or on a spiritual level. The truth is that a lot of this stuff does not always sit well with other people. And I think a lot of Libra risings have realized, both with Jupiter going retrograde in your 7th, that some partners are revealing their true identity, and they might be showing you that they're aggressive, or that they have anger management issues, or that they are self-righteous, or they're a little egotistical. And I say that also because Chiron is there. And so I think that this is a moment for you, Libra, especially if you've noticed this trend over the last 6 months or the immediate last 2 weeks. When this full moon happens, there is other people's moods, emotions, emotional needs, reactions opposing your Sun and your Venus. And you might kind of look at this and go, the way that you're behaving is not kind to me. This does not work for me. I do not enjoy this, especially because the moon deals with career. So if you're somebody who works with a partner or a spouse, or if you have a business partner, likely there's going to be a blow up. If you are somebody who has a lot of clientele, there can be some kind of conflict going on with like clientele. It might be 3 days after, okay, it can be before or after, especially as the moon is coming out of the full moon and it's squaring Pluto. And you might realize, like, we can't have this dynamic at work. I have to cut somebody off at work, or I need to have a conversation about my partner and how things are going on with a home dynamic. So as much as I want to be positive, it can be a little bit more challenging for you, Libra, and just know that it's really putting the emphasis on what you need and what's important to you. You'll see this continue as planets move through Libra and they come into a trine with Saturn. And I think it's about relationship decisions. Breakups or painful rejections can be happening when you have a full moon conjunct Chiron in the 7th. And somebody may have some words for you. You may feel more inclined to kind of communicate and speak up because you're going to have Mercury coming into your sign. And also it's going to be in a trine with Pluto, but with Mercury square Mars, I don't think you should be teaching or preaching people, especially about religion, philosophy, life, or politics. Just like stay out of it. Like you don't need any more drama, okay? Let's see what the cards say for Libra. 9 of coins, thank God. It's my rising sign, so I was like, what's it gonna be? This is going your own way. So this is like, I think with Sun and Venus on your ascendant, it's very much like, what is it they say? What do they say in the South? They just say like, oh, bless your heart, right? Very 9 of coins. It's like, bless your heart, walking away, keeping your head held high, you know, like not telling that person off, not getting into it with them, taking better care of yourself, realizing that part of self-care and self-nurturing and investing in your happiness is being kind to yourself and knowing when to tell other people, you know, to take a walk, because some of you guys may need to say that. And I think with the Libra rising, it's less about feeling rejected by other people. With Sun and Venus in with your first house, it's about being like, you're not leaving me, I'm leaving you. Not to tit for tat, but being like, it's not about this, it's about me, and I'm making the decision, kind of flipping it around a little bit. So when it comes into a trine with Saturn, you're still feeling good in terms of your self-love and your self-commitment and your happiness, okay? Good luck, Libra. Good luck. Okay, so we've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's up, Scorpio? You have got a full moon taking place between full moon in Aries and planets in Libra in your 12th house. Scorpio. Scorpio risings. How are you guys doing? I know this is a full moon that's in Aries. I know it's highlighting your 6th house, which is about health. It's about wellness, your routine, your pets, right? Organization, cleaning. I could see some Scorpio risings just being really like adamant about health, diet, what you're eating, right? And staying active, because you've got Jupiter in this sign as well. Some of you guys are being very particular about your routine, eating at the same time, you know, working out, going places. But the 6th house is like where we have accidents, where we have delays, like shift happens here. So when you have a full moon, you need to be present with a health problem or digestional issues or migraines or blood-related issues. Like this can be a thing. The full moon is also highlighting an opposition to Venus, your 7th house lord, and the sun, which is about career. The truth is that whether you see this, Scorpio, through the full moon or you see this actually through the eclipses that are coming next month, there is a huge change coming in your relationships. Huge. For some Scorpios who are single, it's finally clearing out the past and like making space for somebody new. For some Scorpios who are partnered, it's about basically being like, you know what, whatever has been going on that's been a problem in a relationship, it's finally going to come to a head. And I say that because you have your 7th house lord and the sun in your 12th. So you may have a partner, either professionally or business-wise, who's like not telling you everything, or they're going through some kind of like anxiousness, or there's something going on with them health-wise that's, you know, kind of you're being kept in the dark with some stuff. So just be mindful that, you know, endings of relationships, I have seen them end in the 6th house and also in the 12th house. And if it's ending because there has been some either dishonesty or things that have not been clear. And it's about how that affects your schedule and your health. Obviously, 6th house is also your office space. It's also anything in regards to your daily routines or your doctor's offices. So I don't want to make it all about relationships, but I can see that because this is the focal point of that kite that I told you about. That's a horrible kite, but whatever. It's saying that in order for there to be new cycles and new patterns, something has to filter out in regards to your relationships. And if it's not other people, Scorpio, it could be you. All right, so let's see what the cards have to say. I feel like a full moon in the 6th, like, definitely highlights something that was not seen, either schedule-wise or partner-wise, and that may be what throws you off. Good card, 10 of coins. Long-term planning, finance, resources, building, career stuff, long-term career stuff. So I kind of feel like maybe it's like you taking a step back and being like, look at how much has been accomplished. Like, look at how far we have come. There can be some huge completion where you're realizing like there's going to be a new office space, or that there's going to be new opportunity to make more money. Yeah, you've got the moon sextile Mars. So I think that depending on how much work you've put into a situation, it can bring you more money. So if you've been running around lately, doing a lot of errands, cleaning things up, or if you've been trying to like renovate something, like it could have a payoff for sure. But watch out for some of those oppositions to your 12th, because the next lunation we will have after this is going to be the new moon solar eclipse in Scorpio. And it'll be right come the end of the month, right around the 20th, when the energy starts to turn and you have an eclipse on your ascendant, and something is going to change, okay? Long-term planning, though, it looks good. It looks like there's going to be something that's going to pay off after a lot of work. All right, so Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? You have got a full moon in the 5th house. Jupiter, your chart ruler, is also here. A full moon in the 5th house can bring up themes like, I'm launching my own business, I'm having a lot of fun, I'm throwing a party, I'm hanging out with my kids, I'm focusing on my love and my relationships, I'm pregnant. I know I've said that a lot for Sag rising, but I've seen a lot of people comment saying, yeah, I just found out I'm pregnant. Well, yeah, Jupiter's in your 5th of children, and it's trine your ascendant, and now you've got a full moon, so even more are gonna find out. What can I say about this? I feel like for you guys, this is going to be like realizing that your dreams or what you've been hoping for are suddenly possible. I think it's highlighting the moon, which is your 8th house lord, which is about change and transformation of your happiness, your love life, your creativity. Those of you guys who are self-employed, big opportunities to make more money, huge payoffs creatively. Those of you guys who are wanting like an epic date night, I think this can be wonderful, like right around actually the moon. It could be actually earlier, like 2 days prior, or you may wait until the moon gets into Gemini, but you're still feeding off of this really good romantic energy. Completing things also that are just really important to you personally, like new hobbies and stuff like that as well. The fact that Mars is in your 7th and it's sextile, this also makes me feel like lots of action and pushing and motivation from partners is pushing you into your 5th house. So it's like, oh my God, I'm in love with you. Okay, great. So like, what are we doing together? You know, like 7th house is marriage and commitment, 5th house is falling in love. So there can be a sense of realizing that relationships are progressing very quickly. They're pushing you to get out of your comfort zone and realize that you really do want more romance. You do want more intimacy in your life. There is a sense of having inspiration, muses, and people who come in that inspire you to want to do more and express yourself. I've seen full moons like this where somebody's like, I love you, or I have feelings for you. So those of you guys who are single, watch for that long-term storyline with Mars retrograde, obviously, later this year in your 7th, where you're reevaluating relationships and what relationships could be, and it all trines social houses. So get out there and meet people if you're single. If you're not single, it's about being able to spend more time with other people and finding ways to like do stuff creatively together. Okay, the card that I get, 9 of Coins again. How is that possible? Yeah, 9 of Coins with the Queen of Wands, so it's confirmed. It is you. So you and Scorpio, or if you're like a cusp, or you and Libra, I take that back. You and Libra. But the Queen of Wands is your confirmation card. So it's saying like, yeah, like I deserve this, or I deserve to have fun, or I deserve to be happy. I'm going to celebrate this. I'm excited. I want to share. Like you're going to have a hard time not telling people something good that's going on during this full moon because of the trines and the sextiles. And I feel like you have the right to share this because whatever it is, it seems to be like a big accomplishment or something that you've been really hoping to achieve. Okay, so whether it's a relationship, a business, a baby, it doesn't matter. It's important to allow yourself time to have that. Funny that that card came up twice. All right, so let's move to Capricorn and Capricorn rising. I'm gonna go back a little bit because that's gonna dip the moon in, so I apologize. There we go. So let's take this to Capricorn. There we go. Full moon in Aries, Cappy. So you got some pressure here, my dear. The full moon is opposing the sun and Venus in your 10th house where it's like work, work, work. It's opposing Chiron, and the moon is conjunct Chiron. So it's a completion in regards to home, family, domestic stuff. Some of you guys are finding out that you're moving. Some of you guys are moving back in with parents. Some of you guys are having issues with roommates, or maybe you're selling a house, closing a house. There's something going on here, signing a new lease, like some fulfillment is happening within the 4th house. Even if you have to move back home or be with family or take care of a parent, it's still positive because Jupiter is in this house and it's saying it's hoping to kind of help you expand this. So some of you guys might be doing something temporary until you get Jupiter back in your 4th house, which will be in the new year. And then there may be a move, maybe. I think with your 10th house lord and the sun in opposition here, it's kind of saying like, yeah, there's a lot going on at work, but like your home or your family needs you, or there's like a domestic matter going on here. The moon's comfortable in the 4th, but with the moon in a sextile to your chart ruler, it's basically saying you're trying to kind of really focus on what you can achieve or make happen within the home space. In a trine to Mars, I'm wondering if some of you guys are moving or preparing to move and you need to kind of get organized, or you need to get active with like getting boxes, breaking things down. Or if you're switching offices, I could see like the full moon in your 4th as you're like, okay, you know, family needs me at home, but there's a lot of action at work and I'm working overtime, or there's a lot of change with my schedule. And so that is affecting with the moon conjunct Chiron, like dinner didn't get made, clothes didn't get put away. You know, you've got partners that are like, I need your help, the kids are wild type of thing. And it can create some tension, but you're really focused on stability and working and bringing resources in right now. And you're like, I don't need family drama, or I don't need to move. It's going to be too stressful. It's kind of the feeling that I'm getting looking at this. But for the most part, you have to understand that, you know, later in the month, as these planets come into a square with Pluto, it's showing you where there is a need for you to like assert yourself or your energy differently. Whether it comes to just how you deal with pressure or stress, or how you're communicating and talking to family members or relatives. For some of you guys, it's like, it's not my problem. I can't deal with this. Like, I can't be present for this. For other people, I think it's going to be the challenges that are going on, like I said, in the home front as a result of just being incredibly busy right now. And it's going to bring your attention to your home base. Could be a mother figure or a woman as well, because it involves the moon. 5 of Cups. Not surprised. It can be some waterworks, some sadness. It can be about feeling like loss or having to let go or rejection. You know, full moon's in the 4th house. The 4th house is definitive endings. So some of you guys, if you have relatives, I hate to say this because Jupiter is there, who are older or they need treatment or they're going into a hospital or a hospice setting, that can happen. For some of you guys, it's just grief and mourning, moving away from somewhere you've always lived. It can be having to finally accept the fact that, you know, you're getting older, you can't stay home anymore. We don't want to stay in 5 of Cups energy for too long, because that can lead to getting stuck and being depressed and not being able to find your way out of it. So maybe it's saying that there is a difficult time that you're having either with a home or a family matter or the past, and really feeling like you need to let it go. Look to the next day when the moon squares Pluto, and also look to the 3rd week of October when planets in the 10th come into a square with Pluto, to see what it is you're having a difficult time letting go of, and to be able to work through that and heal that, okay? Good luck, Capricorn. Aquarius and Aquarius rising, you've got a full moon taking place in Aries, and this is in your 3rd house. Communication, anything in regards to vehicles, learning, gadgets, cars, that kind of stuff, ruled by Mars. This makes me feel like you're planning like a fun road trip. This makes me feel like you're maybe learning a language. Maybe you're planning a vacation. Writing creatively perhaps as well. So the full moon in the 3rd can bring up conversations, meetings, having to pick up a new gadget, buying a new car. It does relate to the 6th house, so it tells me that you're healing something in regards maybe to your daily routine, stuff in regards to getting a vehicle worked on, talking to a woman in the family, especially if it's like an aunt, uncle, cousin, sister type of vibe. That's usually the 3rd house. Now the ruler is Mars and it's in Gemini, so we see a sextile from your 3rd to your 5th. So that's why I think journaling, creative writing can be good for you right now, or just getting like a short break just so you can unwind. And it's all opposing the Sun and Venus in the 9th. So some of you guys are actually planning to travel, or you're arranging a trip. Some of you guys might be on it actually as you're watching this, or anticipating going pretty soon. I like this energy. I like the ruler trine Saturn in your sign. It means that you're really focusing on creativity and self-expression. I like the fact that it's also funneling all into your 9th house. So you're realizing the bigger picture is happiness, making time for playtime, enjoying what you've worked so hard for, and also being able to spend more time with just younger people, romantic partners, stuff like that. But the full moon, you know, for some it can be moving or movement because the 3rd house is moving, the 4th house is home. So some of you guys might be realizing or thinking about this. It can also be stuff that's involving, like I said, health or organization, especially in regards to a woman. So pay attention for all that stuff. If you have vehicles that need to be worked on, could be a thing. If you're having to sign contracts, leases, or things like that, read the fine print. We're still in Mercury shadow, and you are going to see over the next couple of weeks, then Mercury goes into Libra, and it'll oppose all of this. So there can be issues and things that we didn't read. So if you didn't read the fine print on the booking, on the course description, on the website, because this does make me think that you're going to maybe have to sign something, or that you're having to kind of like agree to something. Okay, so let's see what the cards say here. I think with Jupiter being in that house too, I think it's just going to be like a lot of back and forth opportunities for travel or communication with a friend. And if you're going through something that's kind of like challenging, like maybe you're getting a friend's opinion, or you're talking to like a mentor or a guru who can help you through that. Hanged Man. So this is actually talking about like more like Neptune, Pisces energy. Hanging out, waiting, not making a decision yet, not saying anything yet. There may be some conversation that you want to have or something that you want to come out with. And like, I think with Mercury in opposition, you're like, do I say it? Do I not say it? Is it time yet? Do I talk to them about this thing? This is also about the need to reflect on decisions before you make a move. So you might need to think about something, take a little bit of a break. To be honest with you, the energy is not that gnarly in your chart. Being that it sextiles, you know, your sign, and being that also it sextiles Mars, I think it's just more about your personal vision and like what it is that you're committing to when it comes to your happiness this year, not letting anything else get in the way. Maybe there's been some fear or trepidation in like speaking out about some stuff, especially if it's been to like romantic partners or younger people. And you're just waiting until Mercury comes out of Virgo before you have more clarity, especially if it involves like business, money, resources. That could be something else that you've been waiting to discuss. And we have now got, Pisces. What's up, Pisces? We've got a full moon in Aries taking place on the 9th of October in your 2nd house. This all deals with money, resources, self-esteem, building power. I think this is about, I think also like realizing that you can't base your self-worth off of a bank account or off of a number, okay? This is also a completion of finally getting something. So some of you guys finally get a payoff. Some of you guys finally get a pay raise. Some of you guys get a benefit in some sense, or you'll get a loan. Sun and Venus going through your 8th house is really great because you're getting support from others. There can be higher paying clients. There can be, you know, getting refunds or getting things that are owed to you. But you are having these air trines in water houses. So it's about communicating and expressing how you feel. So it's learning to be less emotional and just more kind of direct with emotions, and not allowing them to get in the way. I think with the moon being the ruler of your 5th house, it's like creative projects. So like a creative project might do really well. It might make some money. You might put it out there and find that there's like a lot of interest. I also feel like if you're involved in anything in regards to property, real estate, art, there can be like a big sale or a big purchase that's going on here as well. Jupiter's your chart ruler and it's still in the 2nd house. So the fact that it's in the 2nd house, expanding your resources, it's going to go back into your 1st house briefly for 2 months, helping you reconnect to your vision, and then in the new year it comes back into the 2nd. So there is good money news on the way for you. You may see the beginning of it now, and I think with the moon conjunct Chiron, it's healing issues you've had in regards to your finances or just feeling worthy or feeling good enough. And perhaps maybe there is like somebody who's interested in something that you have creative and it sells or it pays off and you're like, oh my gosh, now I feel worthy. You know, I am good enough, or this is a good enough opportunity. Watch also with contracts and negotiations, because Venus and the Sun are conjunct. There can be like a lot of criticism or some harsh words, or people who are trying to kind of like negotiate with you and kind of bring you down on your price in some way. So be mindful of that. But for the most part, this is generally when we see gains. Venus through the 8th and also Jupiter going into the 2nd. Great for finances, great for self-esteem. Also, if you're looking to move, purchase land, close on a house, something like that can be showing up for you as well, because this deals with land and it's in a sextile to Mars. So maybe you're focusing on saving more money so you can move, or paying a mortgage off. But whatever it is, you're building on your spending power. So there can be some really positive money news here. Let's see what the cards say for you. The Empress. Gaining, bringing more in, collaborating. I mean, this is about Venus, and Venus and the Sun are in the 8th. So it's about knowing your worth, bringing more in. Support from women, mother figures, you know, female mentors, anybody who can help you really connect to like what you're nurturing or what you're taking care of. Certainly, I think with the moon being in a fire sign, it sounds kind of weird, but it can be just about making sure that you're feeding yourself well and you're nurturing yourself and giving yourself what you need, especially if it's based off of like desires that are coming up for you. And with Venus and the Sun in the 8th house, you can be desiring things that can be kind of pricey, but you might be like, I'm going to put it on the credit card, or I'm going to pay it in installments. So there may be a way for you to be able to find the middle ground and be able to do both. Okay? All right, guys. Well, that was the week ahead. It was long, sorry. And the full moon in Aries. Let me know, how does this play out for you? How are you feeling with this energy? By the time you see next week's astro weather, it will be happening. So I wanted to get it out a week early so you guys weren't waiting on pins and needles to hear what was going to go on. Just a couple heads up about the channel. We're doing live tarot on Saturday night, so you can tune in on the 8th, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's all donation based, so if you want to get a reading with me, you can hop on and you can do that. We have new Midheaven podcasts coming out every Monday. We are almost to episode 100. It's kind of crazy. Putting great content out on the channel with my partner in crime, the Peace Stealer, so check that out. I only have 4 days left for appointments for the rest of the year. So as I put this out, it's the beginning of October. I'm starting classes. I'm going to be teaching Astro 201 in the new year. I've got webinars and stuff coming out. I'm super busy between content and seeing clients and just a bunch of other things going on come the turn of the new year. So if you know you're going to want an appointment, I recommend booking an appointment. You can click the link below, beyondtheveiltarot.com. You can see my availability. I do leave emergency slots open sporadically, so you have to look for them, but it is different. So if you want to get in with me and talk to me before the end of the year, I recommend booking an appointment. Beyond that, it's not too late to sign up for my eclipse webinar. It's going to be Sunday the 9th, so around the time of the full moon. That'll be interesting. I just wanted to go in depth and be able to talk about these eclipses, what's going to happen, give you guys remedies, talk about how it's going to affect the 12 signs. I will be putting videos out on the channel about Mars square Neptune, Mars retrograde in Gemini, the eclipses. You guys are going to get all of that, but I'm building a library currently and focusing on teaching. So if you want to support me, you like my work, you can always join one of my webinars or one of my courses. And we're going to go even more in depth, and I'm going to talk to you guys about some remedies for these eclipses. They are life-changing. And I know you're going to hear that from a lot of astrologers, but a solar eclipse involving Venus at the end of this month, a lunar eclipse conjunct Uranus square Saturn, the grand finale is coming out within about 6 weeks. We're going to see our lives radically change. We're going to realize what's been going on for the last 2 years and why there's been so much upheaval because there's a huge plot twist coming. So you want to learn more about that, click on my link below. Come and join me on Sunday for my webinar on the fall eclipses. I'd love to see you. And that is all from me, guys. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see all of you very soon. Have a happy full moon. Take care.